Hello friends, so in this video we are going to study about a mini project in Python, and the name of mini project is budget tracker. Okay, so let's get started. So our problem statement is write an application that keeps track of household's budget. The user can add expenses, income, recurring costs to find how much they are saving or losing over a period of time. So what you have to do is we will add some money in our account. Then if we take some amount from the account, so it will be added as expenses, and then we will finally see how our money is flowing in and out of the account. Okay, so as you will see, the as you all know that a basic bank account, so we can some add some money, and then that is money deposited, and then we will take out some money that is called as expense, right? So if we add some money, so that is income, and if we take out some money, that is expense. So the options we will be having here are like we will add some money into the account, or we will then enter the data. Data is like what are the data about expenses, right? So we will be adding the data about expenses, and then we will be having the insights of data throughout the month, like what is the balance and what is all that stuff. Okay, we will be talking about that later. And then graphical view of data. So what this means is we will plot the expenses throughout the month, and we will see what is the highest expense, what is the lowest expense, and what is the total flow of money throughout the month. We can also have a range graphical view, like if you want to have the data about from range in a particular range, like if I want to have the total expenses in from date 3 to date 20. Okay, so we'll get that in range graphical view. Okay, next what will be in data insights. First is account balance. So we'll check the total current account balance, what is that, and monthly expenditure, what is our total monthly expenditure throughout the month, and then percentage expense of our income. So in this we will check what is our percent expense in comparison to our income throughout the month. And this is how our monthly expenditure will look like. So as you will see, the highest expense is on date 10, and that is 800 rupees, and the lowest expense is on date 11, and that is 100 rupees, right? So in this way we will deal always our data and plots. Okay, and the range graphical view is quite like that. So I've checked in from date 5 to date 13 the money flow, and instead of this also it will show the total expenditure throughout this range. And the modules we have used are, the first module is OS module. So it deals with the basically with the file handling. Okay, and then not file handling, but it comes quite handy when we are dealing with the operating system, like files and other kind of stuff. Okay, and the matplotlib is it's just for plotting the graph. CSV module is like we will be using CSV files to put our data and extract data from that. So for that we will be using CSV files. CSV stands for comma separate values. And then finally we'll use date time module. So it deals with date and times. So we'll see. So the first question is how many different ways this project can be made. So I have tried to make this project as simple as possible using CSV files, and to put our data and take data from this. So it is the most simplest example I have taken here. But to make it more and more sophisticated, you can use like MySQL database and a lot of other things, right? You can use classes, and if you want to make it more sophisticated and other kind of stuff. How you can make the user interface for this project. So in Python, user interface are basically made in like PyQt and Kinter and Kiwi, and the most favorite of Python programmers is Kiwi user interface. Okay, so just have a look around that stuff and you will see. Okay. Okay, so let's start building our project. So as you will see, this is the prototype of our project. I have imported OS module, CSV module, datetime module, and matplotlib module. And these are our choices, 5 choices I have discussed: money adding and data entering choices, data insights, data visualization, limited visualization, and this is our main function. So let's move into it. So first of all, in our main function, I will define the income initially as 0. Okay, and then we will have some choices. So initially select the choices, and running equals to true. So this loop will keep on asking again and again the choices until it get false, right? This way. So what are the choices? I have choices, and then initially a choice I have put it in the choices function. So it will define all the choices like this one. Okay, so like the first is add the money to the account, enter the data, insights of data, graphical view of data, and range graphical view, and all that choices are put in the choices function, and then it will finally return the choice as I have taken, and then it will take the choice as an input finally. And if there is some invalid value, if the input is invalid, so it will throw an error, exception error, and it will like say enter a valid value, and then it will finally, if everything goes correct, so it will finally return the choice, and again it comes here to the main function with the choice here. And if the choice equals to 0, so it goes to add money, and if the choice is equals to 1, it goes to enter data. If the choice equals to 2, it goes to data insights. If the choice equals to 3, it goes to data visualization. If the choice equals to 4, then as you know, in the fourth choice is the limited visualization. Okay, so limited visualization is like start date and stop date we have to specify. So for that I have taken two input, start date and stop date, and then called the function. Okay, and if the value you have entered as a choice is not none of these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it will say enter a valid value, or you can say invalid choice. So you have to make the choice again. Okay, and then it will finally ask input, do you want to continue, yes or no. So if you want to get the choices again, so you will press anything, and if you don't want to get the choice again, so if you want to terminate your program, so you will press n. Okay, so for that I have just written this, and it finally will make run equals to false, so that it will not go into the loop again. Okay, so this way, this is our main function, how we'll be dealing with our choices and all that. So let's go with our functions. Okay, so first we'll go to add money. So what we are doing in the add money is we will deposit some amount, and the enter amount is here. We'll take as an integer, and we will enter some amount. If it is basically the income of your month, so uh, if you want to add some money to your balance, so it will call the add money function, and then it will deposit the amount you have entered in the previous income. Like initially, let's say you have added in your income is 1000, and then the second time you have entered 2000, so final income will be 3000 of the month. Okay, so this way. Next we will see how we'll enter our data. Okay, first of all we'll check that if the okay, so in the CSV file we are dealing here. Okay, so in the CSV file what we have to do is we have to put the heading of our data, uh, expense, and the current the date on of is the expense is that, and the label of the expense and all that kind of stuff. So we have to put the heading initially. For that what I've used is I've used the OS module, so it checks if the file already exists or not. So os.path.exists, and the file name is data.csv. So it will check in the current directory that the file exists or not. with this command. If the file does not exist initially, so it will first open the file as write mode, and then it will put the heading over there. So as you can see, this is the CSV module we are using. So write a CSV file, okay, and then it write the row label that date, label, and expense in the first line of the CSV file. And the next time it comes through enter data, so it will find the data.csv file in the current directory. So it will not go into this because it is already done. So it's just for the first time the file is created, so we will put the heading for the very first time. So the next time we will not be putting the heading, we will putting the data only. So this is just to run for the first time. So if the file does not exist, so it goes into it and then put the heading in the csv file. Okay, so it's just for the first time. Then we will take inputs from the user, the date, the label of the expense, and the finally the expense of the current date. Okay, and then we will open the file as append mode, not write mode. Don't try to open it in write mode. If you open the file in write mode, so it will overwrite the previous data. So we don't want that. So each time we enter data, we want to append that into our file. So for that, we will open the file in append mode. Okay, then we will open the file and make a writer CSV mode object, and then we will in the using that object we will write our data into the file, and that is the date, label, and expense. Okay, so we have put a row into our file each time we call the enter data function, right? And this way we will be using enter data function. Then what you have to do in data insights is initially, okay, we are using as you will be seeing, we are using a lot of try except blocks here. So what are these? So basically try except are the exceptional handling syntax of the Python, right? So what is exceptional handling is like if you put something irrelevant to the data, or that is some mishap, some mishappening happened in the data, or the if you want to open this file and the file does not exist, or the file is corrupt or something like that. So in any kind of error, so like say if there is a possibility of any kind of error in anything, so we will put it inside the try except block. So it will just catch the error, and then it will show us so what is the error. So it just not basically it's a exceptional handling module, right? Not module, exceptional handling can the syntax. Okay, so what we are doing in this, with we will open the file, and then we'll read our file in the read object, and then we will convert this read object into a list of lists. So read is basically already a list, but we will put all these lists inside another list, so as to make our data more accessible. Okay, so now it's like have uh, we will have let's say we have 5 rows in our CSV file, so it will have 5 lists of rows in our read list object of list, right? So this way, and then we'll initially have our total expense as 0, and then we will count it with each time. So let's see how we'll count that. So we will iterate through the read list from first element, not from 0th element, because 0th element is the label. So we'll not iterate from the very first element, so we'll iterate through the second element, so that is 1, not 0. Okay, and then we'll keep on adding. So as you know, the expense is in the uh, third column, 0 1 2 third. Okay, third column. So third column is specified as 2 because the index starts from 0. So it's in the second uh, 2th column, you can say, and then it's a string there, so we have to convert typecast it into integer. For that we have used int here to typecast, and then we will add our total expense into the So what is doing it is the iterating through each expense and adding into the total expense, and then finally it will have total expense until when we are out of the list. And then we'll calculate our balance amount. So balance amount is basically the total income of our month and minus total expense. So the money you have expended and the income you have got, so we'll minus subtract the total expense from the income, so we'll get the uh, balance of our account. Then we will simply print them using this print commands, and then finally we'll calculate the percentage of our total expense of the income using this command. So we'll have our total expense divided by income into 100, so we'll get the percentage expense of our month, and I have printed that expense here simply, and this is our exception. So if the file does not exist, or so the main source of error here is the file may not exist or the file is corrupt, may be corrupt. So for that it will print it looks like you don't have enough data yet, or the if the file does not have enough data, so it will still print this thing. Okay, def, and the finally the data visualization, how we'll plot our data. Okay, so I put again it in the try except block because there is a possibility that the file may be corrupt or may not be existing. So for that I put it in the try except block. Okay, so for what for that what we'll be using, we will be creating two lists. So first is date and expense, and then we will iterate through our CSV file, CSV not CSV file, we will iterate through the object of CSV file, list object of CSV file that we will be using here is file list. So initially we will put our CSV file object as read, and then we will convert it into a list. So it is file list is basically a list of list. So each element inside a list, inside a file list, is a row, and each element inside the list of list is a column. Okay, so basically I will show how is that, right? So and then we will iterate through the file list. So we'll be appending each time the first row. Let's see, we are in the first row, and the first row is the we will append our zeroth index elements, that is our date, to the dates list, and then third column element to the expense list. Okay, this way. After that we will use the datetime module. So datetime module will basically gives today's date in the today module, and then we will be using that. Okay, so this is the way we will be using today's date. Okay, and then finally we will be having our matplotlib module. So in matplotlib module we will plot our data. So for that we will be using plt.plot. So basically plt.plots generally takes two uh, arguments. So first is the x-axis list, and the second is the y-axis list. So x-axis list is date, and the y-axis list is expense. So this is x and this is y. Okay, and then we have put our label in as per month because our data is for the total month, and the title of the plot is monthly expenditure. You will see in the plot how will these be there. Then x label, x-axis, it basically says the what is on the x-axis, and the what is on the y-axis with y label. And what I have done here is I've used today dot month. So as you remember, I use today module for the today's date, and today dot month will give the current month of the date, and today dot here is will give the today's actually this month, this year basically. Okay, so plt dot xticks basically shows how will uh, differentiate our x-axis indexes. Okay, that means what will be the gap between them. Okay, so we'll put inside the dates, so it will uh, take all the element inside the date and plot accordingly. Okay, and then plt.legend is basically printing this label in the plt.plot. Okay, So it will not be printing directly. So for that we have to use plt.legend, and then finally plt.show for showing the graph. So I've used all that, but it will not print the graph on the screen. So for that we have to use plt.show, and then finally exception. Finally, our last module is def limited visualization. So for the range of data, we will be using this function. So we'll pass two arguments here: the start date and stop date. Again, try except block, because there is a possibility that the file may be not existing or may be corrupt. Okay, for that will be. So it is quite like the previous one, data visualization block, but there is some difference here. So as you will see, so there is a possibility that the user may enter the date greater than the required date. So let's say I have 15 dates data here, so 1 to 15 only. But if the user enter the stop date as 16, so it will throw an error. Okay, so because this is out of the limits, we have only 15 days data, so we cannot print the 16th day data. So for that we have to deal with that exception. So what I have done here is, if the stop date is greater than the length of file list minus 1. So length of file list is basically the number of rows. Okay, so the number of rows minus 1 I have done because one is very first row is the label, so it is not counting in the rows. Okay, so for that I have reduced it with 1, and the number of rows it will be given by this length of file list. Okay, and then finally minus 1. So if the stop date is greater than this one, so it will print stop date is out of range, and then it will return. And then if you want to continue, so it will ask you again with the choices. So make sure you enter the right date the next time. So all this is quite like the previous one. It's no difference here, only a little bit difference on like again, so there is no difference over here. It's quite the same, and only difference exists here is this one, like oh yeah, total expense. Total expense is the sum of list, map, int, and expense. So what is doing is the it will go through the expense list and to count the total expense in the in that period of time, and then percent it will divide that, okay, with the income as I've done earlier, right? So this way we will be using and we will be building our mini project. Now let's try to run it. Okay, so it's asking for the choice, and okay, so I have entered all the data previously, so here we'll be just seeing the second option. Okay, so as you will see, I have not entered any amount, so it was showing minus 5100, and it's look like you don't have enough data. So until now I have not entered any type of income. So for that we will first add some income here. Okay, so let's say income is 10,000 rupees. Yes, I want to continue. Then it's asking for the choices again. Okay, let's see now the what's other inside. So it's showing that the current account balance is 4900, and total expenditure of the month is 5100, and that is 51% of the income in 15 days of this month. Okay, so this is our data inside. Why? And then number 3. Okay, so you will see the data. So it is the graph. Let me show you in the Broadway. This is our graph as I showed in the presentation also. So this is our 15 days data and the plotting of this data. Okay, this way. And let me show you the last option also, y, and the fourth one. So start date is, let's say I went to 5 and I will until 10. Okay, so we'll see. As you can see here, the 5 to 10 date data is over here, the total expenditure, and it is also showing the total expenditure of this month of this period is 2820 rupees, which is 28.200% of the monthly income. Okay, so it's also specifying the total amount of expenditure over this period. Okay, let's try to enter some data that will append after that. So 15th date was already there, so I will enter 16th and label your expenses all, and expenditure is let's say I have 500 rupees expenditure. Okay, so it have entered the data in the file, and now we'll see if the data is there or not. So we'll press 3 and let's. Okay, as you will see, the data is here from 1 to 16. So the 16th date data is added here, and let's see the insights. And number 2. Okay, so as you will see, the balance is 4400 and the total expenditure is 5600, and the expenditure of total income is 56% in the 16 days of this month. Okay, let's try to add some more amount. 0, add some money. Let's say I've add 2000 rupees extra. Okay, now we'll do our insights. So as you can see, the amount has increased. The previous was 4400 and now it is 6400, and the expenditure remains the same, but the expenditure percentage is decreased in the 16th days of this month. Okay, so this way, and by number 3, it will not be affected from this because it has nothing to do with that data. Okay, so this way we'll be dealing with that, and I hope you have understood all that, and it's you have taken the gist of this project. And there's a lot more thing that you can do in this project, but I have make this project to make you visualize how things are working and how you can make this project. But here in this project I have uh, made this very minimal, but you can take it very far from only this much. You can make it interactive with using interface. Okay, so I hope you have taken what you need from this video. So thank you very much.